Yep, back in the boomer chair. But this time around, I don't want to talk about boomer times or boomer philosophies, boomer memories. I want to talk about actual boomers, stuff that's exploding all over the world. But the mainstream media is like completely silent about it, which is funny because, and this is directly related, and you almost have to be a boomer to remember this. But back in the 1970s, there was a problem with the Ford Pinto. Uh, there were several accidents involving fires, and several people got killed. And there were lawsuits brought against Ford. Now, this was all over the news. I mean, it was every night. It was the main story on the nightly news. It was the headlines in the newspapers because this went on and on. It was a scandal. It was a scandal because Ford, when they were designing the Pinto, crash tested them. And many times during these crash tests, anything at speed over about 28 miles an hour, if I remember correctly, it would rupture the gas tank and cause a fire. And if the speed was any higher than that, the body panels at the back would separate and allow the fuel to get into the cockpit of the car. All right, so this led to several deaths. Now, Ford knew about this, but they released the car anyway because they calculated their odds and they says, well, you know what? It'll be cheaper for us to pay out the lawsuits as they pop up than it will to redesign the car. I'm not making this up. This was, okay, this was on the record. So, and we're getting away from the point of this a little bit, but this kind of is the point because the corporations, they don't care about you. I mean, they really don't care about you. They care about the dollar, the bottom dollar. What's it going to cost? Let's see, is it cheaper to redesign this, or is it cheaper to maim and kill people and pay out if the suits come up? This is the way corporations think. They're not your friends. But we've got a situation where there are electric cars, and not just electric cars. When I say electric cars, I'm including hybrids. So let's not confuse this, because a lot of you guys are like, oh, what about hybrids? Well, that's different. It's a plug-in this. No, anything that's carrying a lithium-ion battery of significant size. So plug-in hybrids and regular hybrids and fully electric battery, it doesn't make any difference. Stuff that carries lithium-ion batteries. These things are exploding all over the world with frequency. Now, you don't see it so much here in the States because we don't really have the number of vehicles, the percentage of electric cars in our fleet. So we're a little bit underrepresented in this. Places like China, Europe, they have a much larger percentage of electric vehicles in their fleet. So these incidents tend to happen over there. So this morning, the first video I see, it's from the China Observer. And like I said, I'm having my coffee, I turn on the TV, and the very first video I see is an electric car explosion in China. And I'll save you this speculation on it, right? I really don't think it's legit. I think it's either CGI or it was a stunt, or because you watch the video, the car just explodes, poof, it goes straight up about 20 feet or so, and then falls back down, straight down. It doesn't look right. So I'm not going to cite that as an example of electric cars exploding, but it is out there. So watch it for yourself, make your own decision on it. I don't think it's real. It could be, but I don't think it's real. So right after I see that video, M Guy Australia, who I've been watching lately, his whole channel is based on the craziness surrounding the EV movement. And he's talking about buses. He's talking about the failure of electric buses, that a lot of municipalities have been ordering fleets of electric buses, and they're all having problems with them, cold weather related, charging system related, all sorts of issues. And this got me thinking about a couple of bus explosions that I've seen that you would think would be all over the news. Now, it's not just limited, I know right away, you Tesla people are going to jump in there. Well, that doesn't happen at Teslas. Teslas don't have that issue. There's Teslas burning and exploding all over the world. There's countless videos of these things exploding after impact, exploding while charging, exploding while just sitting there in a parking lot. They explode all the time. You just don't see it because the mainstream media doesn't want you to see it because their corporate and government overlords don't want any bad press concerning EVs to get out there. You've never seen the video of the Tesla burning underwater. Yeah, really, legitimately, okay? This woman is backing her jet ski into the water, and somehow or another, the car keeps going until it's submerged, and this thing literally goes Fukushima under the water. And all you see is a car floating along, just the roof of the car floating along, and it's on fire. You would think that would be all over the news. And then there's the cars that pull out of a flood, and then 2 days later, poof, it catches fire. Teslas are not immune to this. But I'm getting away from the buses. I want to talk about buses. Because this is something, now I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, okay? And so this is the kind of thing that really sets me off. Like I find and I don't want to call it anti-EV tirade. My anti-EV or anti-faulty or immature technology problem is based on my perspective as a parent / grandparent, right? Because my grandkids are out there, well, they're in traffic. They get on buses. And schools, municipalities, because of all these regulations, are requiring their companies, their fleets, to be electrified by 2030, right? 2035. They have all of these different, I mean, if you ask me, they're arbitrary dates. They're really meaningless because, you can't dictate the evolution of a technology by saying it has to be done by this date. See what I'm saying? So no matter how you look at it, you've got immature technology out there. Technology that may never be mature, the technology that may never actually be ready for public mass consumption like it is, like it's being forced. I know, right away everybody's like, well, the potassium oatmeal jello batteries will be on the market before you know it, and they'll never catch fire. But they've been saying that for years now, and there's absolutely no sign of these magical batteries popping up. I fully believe that if it could be done, it would have been done by now. But these buses, okay, the buses, this is a major problem. All right, so you buy an electric car and you want to roll the dice and, and it probably won't burn up. It probably won't explode, but the chances are. And you know what? The chances are a lot better of the typical electric car, including a Tesla, including all of these hybrids. The chances that I'm catching fire are probably greater than the percentage of people who got killed in Pintos. So again, see, big, crazy worldwide news back then and absolutely quiet crickets these days. So it's one thing if you want to take the chances, if you want to roll the dice with just, you or your family and put them in an electric car. But it's another thing entirely when you have a bus, when you're going to put your kids on a bus. And that's right, every single parent on earth needs to see these videos, needs to know that this is happening, that this can happen and does happen. And there are many, there are countless electric bus fires and explosions all over the internet, taken from all over the world. But I'm just going to look at two of them right now. The first one happened in Paris. So this isn't China. This is in a modern Western European country. Okay, so you can't say, well, it's the rickshaw people, and no, this is modern stuff. Okay, this is what we're familiar with. So there's an electric bus, and it's sitting at the curb. Now it's not charging. It's not doing anything. It's just sitting at the curb. Okay, and the camera's on it, and you see a wisp of smoke. And then you count like 5 seconds, a little bit less than 5 seconds, from the time you see the first wisp of smoke until the entire roof of this thing is just gone absolutely Hiroshima. Right? It's just a furious fire, and bits of burning molten lithium like just raining down all over the place. Now in this case, the battery pack is on the roof of the bus. So there's a good chance that anybody who is on that bus probably could have gotten off before the entire thing was engulfed. And if you keep watching the video, it's only like maybe 20 or 30 seconds before the entire bus is completely engulfed in flames. But odds are you could probably get everybody, if not everybody, off the bus in that situation. Because again, see, the fire is above, so it took a little while for the flames to actually work their way down into the cabin of the bus. But then there's the one from China, right? And this one, like I says, if you're a parent, grandparent, you just care about kids in general, okay? This one is absolutely terrifying, okay? So there's a row of electric buses. Now, I don't know if they're just sitting there regular parked or if they're charging. It doesn't make any difference. There's a row of electric buses. And you see the bus on the end. There's a wisp of smoke that comes from under, kind of inside and under the bus. A wisp of smoke. Less than 3 seconds later, this thing just absolutely erupts, right? Like there is no time, from the very first indication that there's anything wrong with this thing to it being completely engulfed in flames, less than 3 seconds. Less than 3 seconds. Just about the amount of time for you to say, I smell something. Okay, that's it. You just said, I smell something. That's about 3 seconds. From that point to being in flames, on fire, that's how long it would take. Imagine this is a school bus and you've got 60 kids on this bus, right? How are you going to get 60 kids off this bus in the 2.5 to 3 seconds it took for the first wisp of smoke until this thing is completely engulfed? And it wasn't just a fire. This is like an explosion. There are dumpsters like just off to the side of this thing. One of the dumpsters is about, I'm gonna estimate about 25 feet away, 25 feet away, and it catches fire from the heat of this explosion. This is the technology that is currently out there, currently in use. This is the technology that the local governments, municipalities, are mandating their fleets adopt now and over the next 3 to 5 years, right? From now until like 2030 and like 2035. They want to electrify everything. And the only viable technology out there to get them even remote, and it's not even viable. If you watch MGuy Australia's video, it's not viable. They're not getting the range that they're supposed to. They can't operate in cold weather. They can't operate efficiently in hot weather. The charging times are all over the map. The battery degradation is off the chain. They're useless. They're useless. But yet, all of these government mandates are there to push them into service before the technology is ready. But the buses, like I said, the cars are one thing. Cars are one thing. And let's not forget the e-bikes, right? E-bikes exploding. E-bikes are killing people because they don't know. They don't have this knowledge because it's not covered on the mainstream news. So they don't get the information. Somebody who doesn't know is just going to go buy an this is a great thing. I'll buy an e-bike. I'll keep it in my house or my apartment. I'll charge it, while I sleep. That's when it kills you. That's when it kills you. And it's not like it's 1 or 2 random incidents. I forget how many people were killed in New York City alone last year because of e-bikes going up in their apartments. But there's crickets. From the mainstream media, there's crickets because they don't want the general public to know about this. They just keep shoving them out there, climate, zero, whatever. They don't care about you. They don't care about you. I hate to keep harping on these same things over and over again, but this is serious business. And since the mainstream isn't giving you this sort of news, well, it's up to us as YouTubers who are aware and have a bit of an audience. It's up to us to make you aware of these things. And hopefully you can educate yourself. Don't take my word for it or MGuy's or any of these other people. Don't take our word for it. Just look. Because where there's smoke, there's fire. And when there's fire, it's usually associated with some kind of lithium ion thing melting down. All right. It's crazy stuff. Be aware. And like I said, if you're a parent, if you know a parent, show them these bus videos. Show them. This is terrifying stuff when you really put it in perspective and you think about these aren't just inanimate objects going up in flames. These are inanimate objects that are full of people, that are full of kids. I'll see you tomorrow.